Call the order, Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any adds or changes to the consent agenda?
I'll make a
No?
motion to approve.
Motion to approve them?
So moved.
Second.
Second. You
Nope.
can second. I don't get to do both.
Want your spot?
Whatever. I made a motion.
You made it? Okay. Well, that's fine. I'll slide down.
You can slide down.
Yeah, you can do it. That's good. Might need this.
What do we do
Some of it's mine, some of it's yours.
Okay, where you at?
We just did the consent agenda. Did
All
we
right.
take a vote?
Yep.
Yep.
We all good?
Yep.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, planning commission report. What do we have for that?
Good evening.
Good evening.
So last week we talked about the comp plan.
Okay,
I guess the main topic of discussion is reducing commercial retail store inventory.
reducing it, yep, we talked about that.
Yep, and then expanding some residential areas
Okay,
and eliminating or reducing the suburban residential overlay district. Calling it something different or basically getting rid of the overlay part.
okay.
Suburban residential overlay.
Getting rid of it or expanding it?
Well, removing that designation and then actually designating a residential area that has higher density.
So that wouldn't be an overlay then, it would be a new zoning district?
Right. Well, the overlay allows for an election between commercial and residential, and this would be essentially a sewer district that would allow higher density residential.
Okay,
So it would be market rate, it wouldn't be just, right now, we have senior housing, but it would be more than that, it would be market rate, residential
yeah.
housing.
And I guess the question always comes on the tax base from the commercial versus the residential, and where is it, high or low? Anybody have an idea on that?
Well, one of the advantages, since we're a net payer into fiscal disparities, one of the advantages with multifamily is it doesn't get captured in fiscal disparities tax base. So rather than 60% of the tax base, you get 100% of the tax base for local purposes.
We talked about some areas that we're looking at doing this, and, we talked about the northwest quadrant, the northeast quadrant of the freeway corridor. Lake Drive and right off of Lake Drive.
Not the northeast quarter, I thought we had that all commercial.
You're right, it's the northerly west
Okay.
corner of the entire freeway district, not of the Quad 35 project.
By the goat farm,
I'm sorry?
by the goat farm.
Yeah.
Yes, by the, yes.
Okay. Okay, so what was the outtake on that?
I think it was deer in the headlights.
Okay,
It was, I guess I was surprised by it when we talked about reducing these inventories. We talked about the freeway corridor south of Gander Mountain and so forth, and now we're talking about a reduction up in the prime, what I consider the prime commercial area into housing.
okay.
So I was a little surprised.
We have a housing development going in there now.
Yeah, we do.
In the overlay area.
Well, excuse me for asking, but why couldn't we just leave it an overlay? It's like either or.
Because I think Dean said that the Met Council won't accept that anymore. They want it,
One or the other.
they want one or the other. They don't want an over, he doesn't think they'll accept it as an overlay.
That was a question that was confusing to developers too. Like if you're thinking about putting a commercial project there and it could be residential right next to you, the conflicts that creates are potential scares for developers.
I think one of the other driving justifications is it's been kind of dual guided for 10 years, and it hasn't really helped matters. And now, obviously, the market's stronger than it was, in those 10 years. That's one of the conversations I think that Dean had with both the staff and the planning commission.
That's true.
So I sat through this meeting and watched those guys do it, and I know why it's a little bit hard to figure out what to do. First of all, you're dealing with landowners that should probably have something to say about some of it. I mean, if, for instance, on the east side between Hornsby and the Forest Lake, if you were to put that redesignated into housing, and now you can tell me if I'm wrong, and you redesignated that for housing, which they talked about, then if somebody came in and wanted to put commercial in there, then you'd have to go through a comp plan correction, correct? Amendment, same thing, amendment. So I talked to a couple guys that own property on that side, and they've been doing some work to find out. They seem to think that if you put houses in there, you're not going to be able to cover the cost of the assessments. That you're going to be able to cover the cost assessments better with commercial in there.
That goes to my question from before. What is that ratio? I mean, at what density? I mean, do you need 1,000 people per acre in order to cover it, or what do you need?
I have a work paper on this, and I don't remember the number, but I can resurrect that, because Tammy Omnall did look at that at one time for us and told us what the break even, or what she anticipated the break even was for the density. But I just don't remember the numbers. But there is a number there that
Right.
tips it one way or the other.
I mean, you put up 9-story, 8-story apartment buildings, you're going to get the density. Condos, things like that.
In the planning commission, we started to talk about apartment buildings and whether or not that was a use that would be in the district. And the reason why it came up is we did have a proposal for an apartment building, but they're not allowed in our district yet. And so the developer did not want to do a comprehensive plan amendment, nor a text amendment to develop. And so that was one of the questions I had for the planning commission. Is that something that we want to entertain or not? Because there is some interest.
We talked about the mixed-use deals too, where you got 3 floors of residential and commercial on the main floor, that type of stuff too. And if so, where would we put it? We got
Right.
a map with some stars on it that are key areas that we're looking
No,
at.
I think that'd be a great idea. So basically, you have no recommendations, just you're going to do more research on it, or?
Why?
Or looking for more direction?
Like visioning, it's like, what do you see for your city? What do you want to see up there?
Okay.
I mean, if, like, I know what I see there. That's why I'm not thinking residential up,
Yeah.
quarter mile of the freeway, getting
Well,
off. I mean, I understand we have issues and we need to make some reductions and rezone and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's the prime area of the city.
Yeah, and I agree with you, because it's problematic when you willy-nilly change your zoning,
Right.
because it's programmed,
Yeah, we're on the cusp of getting the bridge done here.
Yeah.
That could potentially change that area up there.
There's some
But
nice
it-
land in there too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably the best land in the area there. But what do we do? I mean, it's what we all see.
But north of 97 being a barrier, maybe not tight up to the bridge, but maybe a little bit past where the roundabout was going to be, most of that's wetlands, and there's going to be a big pond in there too they're going to dig. So there's not going to be all this extra space. And at one time, out of Zurich Street runs north and south there, we saw a plan to put townhomes in there, running Zurich straight through and then running a bunch of cul-de-sacs, because, I mean, there's a natural, barrier there with the wetlands and behind there that would probably make a good place for townhomes and whatever. And then, along Zurich there to the west, that's already residential. I could see that part. Some of it's going to have to be residential.
Yeah, I think some stuff should be, and I think, we have a need for rooftops, and we should maybe nail down the densities too.
Yeah, well, very early on, I said we should really have some sort of get-together with owners, project planners. I mean, now we're talking asphalt plant, we're talking you know, roundabouts and cross streets and things. I mean, I think we should maybe do a visioning session on that area with residents. I'd say, you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but when we had that last meeting with them, all we heard was complaints that they couldn't sell their properties. But
You know, that was then. I mean, it's
yeah,
different
things
now.
have changed in probably
Yeah.
2 years, so too. Though.
I think we ought to,
There's a lot of activity down there right now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people looking, so.
I'd also like to know what the effects would be of changing to more and more residential for
Yeah.
the sewer and water system. I mean, no pun intended. They're already
should-
underwater, so.
So should we have a meeting with there be a meeting with the owners before it gets too far down the road?
I think
Or
so.
We could have we could have a neighborhood meeting with, are you thinking the northwest or the entire freeway
The
district?
whole
or-
area.
Well, don't you think you gotta
Whole
do it
area.
in sections? Otherwise, it'll get too messy.
I don't think so. I think there's not that many residents there. There's a handful. I mean, you do have the people down by Ziegler, and then you have the people up, you know, by Mary Ann's there. So, I mean, I think if you just get those people in there, and then the people over by Danny Mike. So,
Okay.
I think we just do it in one shot.
And you want it more of a visioning meeting where you have different tables and you get input from each one, kind of like Columbus, where you're getting information from each one, or you want it more of a presentation, listen, and then get feedback?
Well, maybe those tables should be sectioned off by the owners in that area. Otherwise, everything's gonna get too convoluted. Because these guys maybe want something different than these guys. So if you took that east side, put them in an area,
Okay.
and the north side of 97, and then so forth and so on.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Because then they can take a map, maybe a bigger blown-up map, and say, I want commercial, I want this, I want that. It's kind of like getting your road tarred.
And then we can assess exactly, you know, once they come up with some conclusions, how the whole thing fits together.
But there is some numbers out there on the assessments, and
Yeah.
the couple guys I talked to said the assessments are too high to put residential in,
There's some big numbers, no doubt about it.
you know, so.
Okay, so that's what we'll do on that. What else you got?
That was it, basically.
Okay. All right, you ready for the big meeting?
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay. So we'll have this room and the next room. We'll have some audio visual in the other room. There'll be a sign-up sheet for people who want to speak, and then
Time limits?
some time limits, and you'll have to make sure that everyone's speaking into the microphone and they can hear and things like that, because the tendency is to lean back up here, and then the other room won't hear, so you'll have to make sure everyone's speaking clearly, and because I got,
Mr. Mayor, if you've noticed, we have a new camera in the room.
oh, no, I haven't.
Over here.
Oh, the second camera
So second camera, so.
catches me late.
Nice.
So tonight, Terry is this is the first night that we have a second camera in the room, and so what that camera is capturing is the person who's sitting at the table. We're actually not looking at the back of his head during the meeting. We're looking at the front of him actually speaking, and so when Garth was speaking, Terry switched to him, and so people who are viewing from home got to see Garth speak into the camera. So.
You do a good job, Bill.
You're the guinea pig, Garth.
Thank you. All right, public open forum, or is there anyone here for public open forum tonight? Okay, hearing none. Update on the Forest Lake Times change in distribution?
I think that the council members are aware, and if you're not aware, the Forest Lake Times went to a subscription model. So they will no longer have a free distribution of the Forest Lake Times for the city of Columbus or any community that they do distribution for. So they did send out notification, and there was a big front page article saying that they were going to a subscription model. And so I had a conversation with Jeff because I had some concerns that they would not meet the legal requirements to be a legal newspaper, because there are some statutory requirements for that, and we have designated that paper as our legal newspaper. And so he did call me back, and he said, assured me that they met all the requirements and that they had already received 500 subscriptions to the newspaper, so that they met those standards so that they could be a legal newspaper. And would still, in the future, publish the legal notices. And in addition, they would put them in the Peach and they would put them on their website. The subscription, the original price was $51, and I know for a certain period of time, it was going to be $38 for the year. But I did ask him, whether there were different rates for different things, and he said, no, at this time, it would be $38 for 1 year. So he did indicate to me that if you had other questions or you wanted him to come in, talk a little bit about their new format, he would certainly do that. Otherwise, if you had questions, I would bring it back and then he would answer them for you.
In January, we'll pick our new posting place. Is that right?
And legal newspaper, we would
Right.
designate, yes.
So we'll discuss it before then. I don't know. You guys have any questions?
Nope.
Okay. All right, engineers report.
Just two things this evening. The first one was a follow-up to the memo I brought forth last meeting. Council wanted more detail on preparing a grading and drainage plan for the Northeast Quad. So in your packet was the backup material that I had done anyway, but didn't have it attached. I had asked for authorization to go ahead and prepare a plan for a not-to-exceed amount of $20,000. And the actual cost that we had estimated was going to be about $21,500, but I just rounded it down to $20,000.
Okay.
I'd be donating my time.
Okay.
So if you still want to go forward with it, looking for a motion to authorize preparing a grading and drainage plan for the entire Northeast Quad.
Anyone want to make a motion to that effect?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, opposed? Ayes have it. Okay.
And the next item was just some updates on the 3597 project as well as County 54. If you've been out there, you see they're pushing dirt up to the, from the north span of the new part of the bridge to settle over the winter. They've also, the contractor's looking to get access to the way station from 54. They're talking to the county about that, to access their materials and things there. So you might see a driveway there in the future,
Okay.
if the county grants it.
So I would have a question. Any updates on the traffic signal light or roundabout for Hornsby?
No, that's what you had authorized last meeting, as we went out and are had some traffic counts done, so we'll have that in about 2 or 3 weeks. And it'll be in a format that we can submit it to MnDOT. That'll take care of not only the traffic impact study, but that intersection evaluation they require. So we'll be able to submit it to them, and they'll be able to make a determination.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
Still no update on the funding for the 54 project, which includes Hornsby. So we're still in a holding pattern for that. County's working with the state.
Okay.
Again, I would say at this point, since it's mid-October, you're probably looking at 2019 construction for Hornsby, not 18, which wouldn't have a large impact other than not getting it done for a year longer
Okay.
later. And the last item was just an FYI, you've probably seen Schaefer has their, that area that the city is renting to them for the batch plant, all classified. And on behalf of, since the city's a landowner, Rice Creek Watershed District is requiring grading and sediment control permit, erosion and sediment control permit, so we are filing that with Schaefer's input, and
Okay.
no fee to the city for that.
So that would require them for putting up silt fence and things like that?
They have silt fence line, and they have a berm along the west side of the property, which is the way it drains right now, so
Okay. All right, anything else?
those are the primary things.
Okay, attorney's report?
Mr. Mayor and Council, on pages 5 and 6 of the packet is a brief memo confirming that you can use, if you so desire, you can use special assessments to improve and repair the ditch along Pine Street. So we've confirmed that, and then the next steps, if you decide to move forward, would be a feasibility study. There should be some direction from the council on what the splits would be between landowners in the city, since this is a through street and carries traffic other than just residential traffic. there would likely be some allocation back to the city to cover that share of through traffic. We believe there would be a benefit to the properties, particularly those that have been complaining about flooding, but that would be determined in part by a feasibility study.
And would there be any negative effects if we do this work and it floods downstream? I mean, is that going to open us up for any liabilities there?
I don't think so. I mean, in theory, this area is supposed to drain that way. It's just flat, so
I
you're
thought it was supposed to go the other way.
to the west,
Supposed to go to the east, I thought.
majority of it, but.
No, it's in a ditch system, I mean, so,
Yeah.
you know, if there's,
It's a
If
city
there's a
ditch
problem, it's a
system.
Rice Creek issue at that point?
yeah, and whoever's to the other direction, the ditch needs to then deal with it. Because that's the purpose of the ditch, is to
Yeah,
convey.
I'm just worried it's opening up a can of worms, but.
Well, I mean, you know, again, you can do nothing. This is just a mechanism to determine whether you can use special assessments. It would be much like a road project, but because there is through traffic, there would be some city share, and we'd probably look to the engineer to help us calculate, you know, the relative amount of through traffic versus benefit to,
And it has nothing to do with Lionel Lakes. I mean, they have, it's,
no,
It's on our side,
It's all
so-
on our side.
okay.
What's the feasibility study cost factor?
I hadn't thought about it, but it wouldn't be that much. We've had a survey done previously and pretty familiar with the area, so it's, we can put a number on it.
Have we talked to the landowners? Are they interested? We just,
Not that I'm aware of.
so this would start that process?
We have a meeting with one of the landowners tomorrow at 10 o'clock because he wanted, with the outcome of this conversation and the conversation that the council had at the last meeting, we thought we would talk with the one landowner that's had the most issue with water.
Well, what about the other ones that'll be assessed?
You know, I think if this particular landowner would like to take a petition around, because the 429 process, generally we start out with a landowner petition. So I think if he's willing to go to his immediate neighbors and such and have a petition, then the council can then, based on the petition and landowners, direct us to conduct a feasibility study and a neighborhood meeting. Because I think in this particular case, the way I saw Rice Creek do the area benefit, it's not just landowners that are adjacent to the road, it's all landowners who have a benefit of draining their property into the road ditch, into the other ditch.
Right.
So it's an area assessment.
Well, I think we should at least go down that. How much would that be, you think?
For a
The-
feasibility.
Yeah,
That in the neighborhood meeting would be just
hundreds?
2,500,
Okay.
3,000 for the time and
What do you guys think?
drainage assessment.
Well, do you want to meet with the landowners first?
That's what we thought. We would meet with the one landowner, tomorrow, see if he's willing to do the petition. And if he's willing to do the petition, then he would come back, and it would be a petition-driven project. Now, certainly, I think the 429 project, because the road projects there, it could be city-initiated, which I think we've done in the past. So if you feel that you want to do a city-initiated project, you could do that, and then we can let the landowner know that the city is going to take on that issue, and then that forgoes the petition process.
I think the benefit of doing a landowner petition is because the complaint started with the landowner, and that way the landowner would inform his neighbors. But it's your call whether you
Yeah,
want.
no, I think we should go that way too. You guys agree?
Landowner,
Yeah, landowner, go out and see what he can do. And
see if they want enough interest before we do a feasibility study.
all right, so that sounds like that's set. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, council, Danny,
I have nothing.
Mark?
We had a Fall Fest meeting just before I came here today and discussed how things are going over there and how it's not going. So there might be some changes coming up this next year.
For the worse or better?
Different.
Different, okay, good.
They were talking about maybe altering the start time,
Okay,
maybe a corn feed, maybe some live music,
yep, I'm all up on all that.
possibly a beer tent. Some things are gonna have to change or it's gonna die. Just that it's declining every year. It's the same thing and nobody wants to change. So now we're finally coming up with some different ideas and we might be going a different direction.
Okay. One of the things I'd like to see is, I know it's the Boy Scouts make money on the popcorn and the donut guy and the popcorn, but that stuff costs nothing. You know, we could offer free, like we do free face painting, right?
Yep.
I mean, we could be offering free cotton candy and snow cones. I mean, just, it's pennies that would maybe be a good idea.
Another idea, we punch.
The excuse me, the bounties, you know, $5 to go on the bounties. Come on, let's make that just part of the deal.
Movie in the park.
That was, I know Lino did that. We've
Yep,
done it
and-
there. It's kind of
and,
fun.
We think that'd be a good idea, because a lot of kids and parents all the same.
Mhm.
Cotton candy going over there, popcorn, that kind of thing, and,
You get the blow up screen.
yeah. Do they have them? Blow?
Yeah, they blow up screen. It blows up and then the project on it.
Okay.
They're pretty cool.
Say blow-up screen?
Blow up. It's a big, like, airbag thing that blows up.
So I think that might be a happening thing too, maybe a 5K coming back, but some things have to change, and we know it, so.
Maybe I can race Jessica. What do you think? Take you on the 5K? No.
That's it, that's all I have.
All right. Okay. Nothing?
I got nothing.
Okay, I have, I just want to bring up one thing, and Elizabeth, we talked about it earlier, the hotel study. Could you explain how that went down so that we can get that on the record?
Sure. I want to say it's 2 years now ago, during our EDA meeting, we had two hotel groups come before the EDA. It was Americ Inn and Grand's Day, along with Running Aces, because they had a partnership by that time. And they requested a hotel study to be completed, but they wanted the city to initiate the hotel study. And at that time, there was a cost to that hotel study, and there was an offer by Running Aces to help fund that hotel study. At that time, the EDA made a recommendation that we move forward with the hotel study, and the hotel study was ordered.
The 50% share?
You know, I'd have to look up the exact number, but that's what I recall.
Approximately, okay.
It was approximate. At that time, we talked about who would have access to this, you know, to the study, and it's my recollection that we indicated that, yes, the study would be commenced, and until the council accepted the study, it would be private information, but once the council accepted the study, it would then be public, and it would be then distributed to, whether it was Americ Inn or any other hotel vendor, that we would do that. And subsequently, since that time, we have distributed that hotel study to other hotel vendors based on request. But Running Aces did receive a copy of the draft and the final version when they requested it prior to the council accepting it.
And
So-
Mr. Mayor, if I could, one clarification, and we made this clear 2 years ago, is that because it was a city document, ultimately, it would have to become public. And so it's never really private in the sense that it's somebody else's data. It's just not public data until it's finalized. And so that was the understanding at that time, that it was draft data that was not available to the public until it was finalized.
Okay.
But it was always going to be public under Minnesota statutes.
Thanks for the clarity. All right, that's all I had. No Public Works Director here tonight, so we'll move over him. Public Information Coordinator. Jessica, nothing? And City Administrator's report.
I have one item on my report. Jesse has been, Hughes has been with the city for a year, and I'm happy to say she's done a fabulous job in her work and has been a great asset to our city staff. And I'm making a recommendation based on what we presented when we hired her, that after 1 year, she would be eligible for a step increase based on performance. And as I stated before, we're very happy with her performance, and so we're recommending a step increase for
Okay.
Jesse, as indicated in the memo.
Anyone want to make a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? I agree, she does a great job. Thanks for all your hard work. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, calendar, anything else? Calendar of meetings is on 11/1 for the Planning Commission. And I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. We're adjourned.